Hi there, I'm Clifford Bates, and welcome once again to Reading Aristotle's Nicomachean Ethics. Today we are looking at chapter 10 of book 1, and we're continuing on the question of happiness, and he dealt with last chapter we dealt with the question of external goods, happiness in relation to external goods and internal goods in that sense, and and that even though that they're not supposed to be external goods are not the means of happiness, it's not a gift, something you earn in that sense, but then you can. But the question is, could you sustain someone happy if they suffered great things? And example was Priam, right? Priam in the Trojan Tales, right? So let's continue in chapter 10, right? Should one then not deem happy any human being for so long as he is alive, but must look but must one look instead, as Solon has it, to his end? In other words, his end whole life in 62. The Athenian statesman, legislator, and poet, for his conversation with Croesus of Lydia, we alludes to here in Herodotus, book 1, of part, line 32. But the question of, you should only judge one happy at the end of his life, not at the beginning, in that sense, the whole life, right? But if indeed it is necessary to posit such a thesis, then is in fact a person happy when he is dead? In other words, the question is it can you say that if we do it this way in terms of his whole life and like this, then is one person happy only is when he's dead in that sense? Or is this at least altogether strange, especially for us who say that happiness is a certain type of activity? So, wait a minute. So therefore, yes, it's a question of its activity. It's a being, and being in the world in that sense. It's living. You can't be dead. You can't be not being. You have to be being. You have to be being and doing things in the world. So it is a certain activity, right? But if we do not say that the dead person is happy, then this is not what Solon means either, right? But says rather that someone might safely deem a person being blessed only once that he has been removed from, he is already at the remove from bad things and misfortune. This too admits some dispute. So therefore, the other understand that maybe only if you look at the view of the whole life, and that different, and there's no dispute. For it is held that both something bad and something good can befall a dead person, if in fact they can befall the living person who does not perceive it. For example, honors and dishonors, and the faring well or the misfortune of his offsprings and the descendant generally. So there's, well, no, these other things can happen. You're not even here. You're gone. You don't perceive it. You're not perceiving it. In other words, it can be held that way, and it ends it that way. The question. So it doesn't mean it like this. And he goes. So therefore, this is perplexing, right? Because it is held that something bad and something good can befall dead people too, right? In fact, they can befall living persons if they don't understand it, right? For example, honors and dishonors, and the faring well and misfortunes of their offspring and descendants generally, right? They don't know, they don't say no about it, right? This can happen, But these things too are perplexing. For someone who has lived blessedly until old age and then comes to his end accordingly, literally according with reason, according with his end, according in accord with reason, literally in accord. In other words, blessed his own age, and it comes to his end in accord with reason. It is possible that many reversals may occur involving his descendants, just as some of these descendants may be good and attain a life that accords with their merit, but others the contrary. Yet it is clear that it is possible for these descendants to be of varying degrees of remove from their ancestors. Indeed, it would be strange if even the dead person should share in reversals and become now happy, now wretched again. So that's this, the question is it changing this way? Is it the condition even if they're dead? The children were good and died. No. It's reversals, right? They're worse. They're rich. They're happy. But this, to what degree is that reputation? We have to distinguish between being happy and being reputed happy. It would be strange too if nothing of the affair of the descendant should reach the ancestors. Not even for, in other words, it would be strange too that the affairs of the descendants didn't really affect the should nothing of the affairs of the descendant should reach the ancestors, not even for a certain time. So therefore, this is the question: it'd be odd. So he's giving some problems. What about this? These are the kind of questions, troubles. These are okay. What about that? It doesn't make sense. He's throwing issues in here. Dead, you know. What does Solon mean by this? He gives the Solon example. You can't judge everything because this is responding to what is done there. That external things happening to you, and that you cannot. Therefore, that being happiness does necess external goods. It is not because of the external goods, but the lack of certain external goods may make your situation or bad fortune, certain poverty or certain things like this that can make it difficult for you to be happy. Okay. So therefore, this is the problem here. Okay, and then he goes with the question of, well, what happens with changing? You know, and it's kind of he says, but one must return to the perplexity previously mentioned. For perhaps what is now being sought might be contemplated on the basis of it, in that sense. The question of what is being contemplated here on the basis of it, the question of this. If indeed one does have to see a certain person's end, and at the time of their death, each person blessed, and at the time, at that time, right, the person's end go, and deem each person blessed, not as being blessed now, but as being, but as having been such previously. How is this not? How is this not strange if, when he is happy, what belongs to him will not be truly attributed to him? So therefore, this is the. In other words, if he is happy, nothing's not going to be attributed to him. This strange consequence arises on account of our wish not to call the living happy, given the reversals that may happen, and of our own supposition that happiness is something lasting and by no means easily subject to reversals, while fortune also often revolve for some people. In other words, the problem here is that we want to think happiness is something that is unchangeable. It's not subject to reversals in that sense. But while fortunes often resolve for the same people. For it is clear that if we should follow someone's fortunes, we will often say that the same person is happy and then again wretched, declaring that the happy person is a sort of chameleon in an unsound footing. And if it's about, this is why you have to be careful about fortune in that sense. Is it one minute he's happy, one minute it's not happy? Okay. So therefore, the question, or is it not at all correct to follow someone's fortune? Okay. So therefore, looking at someone's fortunes or state condition. For it is not in these that doing well or badly consists. So it's not fortunes, question of fortunes in that sense, conditions, prosperity and status. It is not doing well that or badly. It is not in these that doing well or badly consist. Rather, human life requires these fortunes in addition, just as what we said. Yet it is the activities in accord with virtue that have the authoritative control over happiness. and the contrary and contrary activities over contrary. In other words, so that in other words, the activities in accord with virtue have authority over happiness, and the contrary activities over unhappiness, right? Misery and the bad thing in that sense, wretchedness, right? The perplexity just now raised also bears witness to the argument, since in none of the human works is anything so secure as what pertains to the activities that accord with virtue. In that sense, in other words, since none of human works is anything so secure as to what pertains to the activities that accord with virtues. For such activities seem to be more lasting than even the sciences, and the most honored of them seems to be more lasting, because those who are blessed live out their lives lives out their lives engaged to the greatest degree and most continuously in those activities. So therefore the lives people who are engaged in those great activities are going to be they're going to be continually engaged in those activities in that sense, to the greatest degree and most continuous in those activities. This seems to be the cause This seems to be the cause of our not forgetting such activities. So, in other words, we are not forget those activities because they're the people who are engaged in those activities to the greatest degree and most continuous. We'll do so in the most highest degree and most continuously, right? Indeed, what is being sought will be available to the happy person, and he will be such throughout life. For he will always, or most of all, act on and contemplate what accords with virtue. In other words, he will most act on and think about what accords with virtue. And at least he who is truly good and foursquare without blame, from Simonides' lyric, Elegy Poet, see also Pythagoras is that, with a part of the poem from which this line is taken and quoted and discussed. So the four square is truly good and foursquare without blame, right? He will bear fortunes altogether nobly, beautifully, and suitably in every way. In other words, the person who's virtuous, who acts and contemplates what virtue is, in that sense, he will, in excellence, in that sense, uh, or he is truly good, truly good and foursquare without blame. This is the line from Simonides, right? He will bear fortune altogether beautifully and suitably in every way. Now, many things occur by chance, and they differ in how great or small they are. So many things are by chance, right? And some are great, some are short. The small incidences of good fortune, and similarly of its opposite, clearly do not tip the balance of one's life, whereas the great and numerous ones that occur will make life more blessed, since these naturally help adorn life, and dealing life with them is noble and serious. In other words, the good blessings. In other words, the small ones, the small pluses and negatives aren't going to overwhelm the scale, but the big ones, they will. But those fortunes that turn out in the contrary way restrict and even ruin one blessedness, for they both inflict pain and impede many activities. Nevertheless, even in the midst of these, nobility or beautifulness shines through. In other words, this is Cologne. Nobility, or beauty, the beautiful, shine through. Whenever one bears up calmly under many great misfortunes, not because of any insensitivity to pain, but because he is well born and great souled, magnanimous. 65, magnanimous, right? The first appearance of this megalosukia. Okay, he is either well born, born well, right, or great souled, megalosukia. First instance of that here. This is interesting. Next paragraph. And if the activities have authoritative control over life, in other words, they rule over your life. They have authoritative control over life. Just as we said, then no one who is blessed would become wretched, since he will never do things that are hateful and base. In other words, even if bad fortune happens, misery, he will not do things that are hateful and base. For we suppose that someone who is truly good and sensible bears up under all fortunes in a becoming way, and always does what is noblest, the highest colon, right? Noblest or most beautiful. What is most beautiful, given the circumstances. Just as a good general makes use with the greatest military skill of the army he has, and a shoemaker makes the most beautiful shoes out of the leather given him. Okay, a Colossus. I think that's right. Colossus again. He's beautiful. Colossus, noblest or most beautiful shoes out of the leather given him. It holds in a similar manner. This is okay. You have to understand that Colossus. I mean, why do I keep on? Colossus is both beautiful and good, noble and beautiful. I think you should play it, the duality all the time. So that the beautiful in the noble leather, right? It's fitting in that sense. It holds in the same manner with all the other experts as well, he says, right? And if this is so, the happy person would never become wretched, nor indeed would he be, in other words, nor indeed would he be blessed. It is true if he encountered the fortunes of Priam, nor indeed would he be blessed. It is true if he encountered the fortune of Priam. In other words, Priam is not blessed in that sense. He's wretched. He would never become wretched, nor is he blessed. In other words, he's not ignoble, but he's not blessed in that sense. He would not be unstable. He would not be unstable and subject to reversal either. For he will not be easily moved from happiness, and then not by any random misfortune, but only by great and numerous ones. So small and in other words, he's going to be removed from his condition of being good and virtuous, or being happy in the sense, not because of small misfortunes, but because of numerous and great ones, right? Be great and numerous ones. And as a result of such things, he would not become happy again in a short time. But if in fact he does, he will do so in the completion of the completion of some lengthy time during which he comes to attain great and beautiful things. In other words, he obtains some great and beautiful things in that sense. So as a result of this, he will not become happy in a short time. But in fact, if he does become happy again, in that sense, it's in completion of some lengthy time during which he becomes of great and noble things, happy, beautiful things. What then prevents one from calling? What what then prevents one from calling happy someone who is active in accords with complete virtue, complete excellence, and who is adequately equipped with external goods, not for any chance time, but in a complete life? So therefore, what prevents one from calling happy someone who is active in accord to complete virtue, and who is adequately equipped with external goods, not for any chance time, but in a complete life? Or must one posit in addition that he will both live in this way and meet his end accordingly? 66. This is according to reason. Okay, accordingly, meet his end accordingly, or his end according to reason. Since the future is immanifest to us, there was a future we don't know. It's not manifest to us; it's immanifest to us, and we posit happiness wholly and in every way as the end and a complete virtue. That's sort of two questions. One question is, is it possible to say that this is the case, that a person who's done this and like this is this, or must one posit in addition that he will live both in this way and meet his end according to reason, since the future is in manifest, not manifest. We don't really know it in that sense, and we posit happy, wholly, and in every single way as an end and complete. And if this is so, we will say that those among the living who have and will have available to them the things stated are that those things stated are blessed. In other words, but blessed human beings. They're not blessed, but they're blessed human beings. So if this is so in that sense, right? If these two things are so in that sense, we will say that those among the living who have and will have available to them the things stated, they're blessed, but blessed human beings. Let what pertains to these things to be defined up to this point. So therefore, let's continue this. Stop here and say, let's pertain to what these things too have been defined up to this point. In that sense, and this is where we'll stop, and we'll continue this in the next chapter. Pardon me. So if you have any comments, questions, or concerns about what we dealt with so far about the question of external goods, the question of one's life, how does we understand what happiness is? Can we do it like this? Or is it that it is this possible solution that he gives here at the end? So put your comments, questions, or concerns in the notes on the comments below, and I will respond to them when I see them. If you've liked it, like it, share it with a friend, share it in social media, hit the like button, but also share it with your friends, share it around. Another thing you can do is, this is subscribe if you're not subscribed. Subscribe and encourage others to subscribe. I'd like to grow the channel some. Now, if you didn't like it, you can always hit the dislike button, but say why you didn't like it and what went wrong. This way we can learn. Say what in the comments. And I didn't like it because blah, blah, blah. Why? And I disagree with you because of this, okay? And say why, though, okay? Because that way we can learn. That's the purpose of this in that sense. Another thing you can do is if you want to follow me on social media, links below. You can follow my social media links there below. You can follow me there. If you want to find more about me as a scholar and check out my research, you can do so through the academic social media links below the social media links. And another thing you do is you want to help me to do what I do. You want to contribute to this. You can do so through Subscribe Star Patreon. And the links to that are below. Another thing you can do is if you want to just help me, you can do so by buying one of my books, the 3 books that I have published that are listed are below in that sense. And that's it. We'll see what you can do in that sense. We'll turn to next chapter. Next time we see each other, we'll see chapter 11. Well, that's it. Okay, have a good day. Take care. Bye-bye.